Hey guys, how y'all doing out there? Just want to hop on real quick just before you hear this next episode where we talk about escapism and just various things about life. There are a couple of things that I'd missed, right? And again, we always like to make sure that we complete thought here. So before you hear this, before you hear what you're about to hear, we're gonna give you a little preview, right? So. I mentioned something about African proverbs and things with enemy and a friend. Now, one that deals with an enemy and a friend actually comes from Mark Twain. It's not a African proverb. However, there is an African proverb about your enemy, which is this: if there is no enemy within, the enemy outside cannot harm us. And you have to take that into effect, guys. President Kennedy said it like we have nothing to fear but fear itself, right? This idea, y'all, where again, many times the thing you see on the outside is coming from within. Hard thing to accept, but many times the stuff that the places that we put ourselves are a little bit different than just the things you will go through in life. Many times it deals with the things that are you. Or the enemies of you internally, not externally, right? Bible doubles down on this thought with this whole we wrestle not against flesh and blood idea, right? Because again, this idea is not it's not really the people you're looking at. It's the thoughts in the mind, y'all. You have to check the thoughts in your mind, right? Because then that generates your actions toward people. So that's that African proverb. The one that comes from Mark Twain is as follows. Very impactful when I heard this one, but it's still true. It takes your enemy and your friend working together to hurt you. One to slander you and the other one to bring you the news. So because of this, I got to say this here when you're talking about people. This is going to be a little itty bitty ditty. Not too long. So this way y'all can get into the episode. Friends, be careful of the information you're getting from people, because you got a lot of folks out there that are your friends' as enemy. Whether they say it openly or not, they ain't got a flag. You know, like that Marvin the Martian thing when he takes over the moon, puts his flag on the moon, right? That Bugs Bunny old school episode, right? If y'all don't know about it, go look it up. I claim this. Yeah, it's funny. So, yeah, you got people out there that the enemy is not really that open like that per se, but still doing stuff, right? You gotta be able to get yourself get your sense. I know everybody got their gaydar out there. You need to get your harmdar or harm radar going, right? You got to know where the trouble is coming from. And it's not a. This is why I said a long time ago, your prejudger is broken. Our prejudger is broken. It is, because it's been calibrated to listen off to the mess of what somebody else is saying instead of what's for real. So, though, just to do on that, the word escape. I did not speak about the word escape. I said escapism, but I don't ever talk about escape. To break free from confinement or control. Okay, so in escapism, when you look at the definition, it deals with trying to avoid that which is unpleasant. Again, certain confinements and control is highly, highly, highly unpleasant, right? So that's just the two of those there coinciding. And finally, I had spoken about something with DC and Marvel being used today. So let's get into that real quick, and then we're going to end. The thing when you're talking about Star Wars, because I was talking about Star Wars and how they canceled the second season, The Acolyte. Them Star Wars and DC are very real in their mindset of good and evil, light and dark, so on and so forth. When you get into Marvel, although those things are there with, say, like the Black Panther comic, the X-Men comic, some of the things with the Avengers and especially Civil War and whether the government can regulate things and all that kind of thing. Many of the things have more of a violent nature to them. They have more of a sexualized nature to them. And of course, and shout out to Marvel Comics for their boldness, especially as Stan Lee got older and stuff like that, introducing those who are of the homosexual and transgender community, which was what I was going to tell that group of our family, is y'all have to be careful in being used for greedy purposes. Again, like with our heterosexual community, they don't care about the fact that we're married. They don't care about the fact that we date men and women. They care about how much money and how much power we give them. Okay. And again, the heterosexual community is okay with that trade-off. So we use the Bible. And I mean, it's just what the truth is, y'all. We okay with that trade-off. So we just go on with it, right? To our other brothers and sisters, y'all be careful of that, right? The ability to love is precious. The ability to express yourself is precious. Guard that. Protect that. Don't let it be used. The stuff you see in Marvel Comics ain't supposed to be used so Hollywood can make more money off the pain and suffering you have gone through in this life from people who've been intolerant to see you for who you are, right? That's just a real thing. Whether folks believe it or not, and however they want to say I'm twisting it, so be it, right? But that's just what we wanted to bring out there. That's the reason that you see less of it. Now, for me, as a comic book fan, as a person who just gets into all this kind of stuff, it's bothersome because you just want to see the stories being told instead of them constantly canceling it, half-telling it, and all that kind of thing, right? So that's what I wanted to bring out in that little instance, and I completed the thought. So there it is, right? Thank y'all, family, for walking the road with me as always, and we will talk to you soon. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What's going on? August the 29th, right? Thursday. Good morning to y'all. How are we doing out there, ladies and gentlemen? Family, what's happening, right? Right, what's happening? I hope y'all are having a powerful and impactful Thursday, right? These are things you gotta, we talked about this before, talking about words, right, y'all? So we're gonna take the chance to do it. You take the chance to do it and speak words of life and positivity and encouragement to each other, right? Today we're gonna get into, finally, we're gonna get into 13 verses. From give me 1 second. There's just some things, y'all, that we got to get down, y'all. We gotta get certain mess out the mind, man, because it's not. I know we have learned so much from our parents, and we've learned so much from our grandparents and our great, as we say on this podcast, parents, right? Grandparents, y'all. But at the end of the day, some of this is slightly out of balance. You have to, and life is lived in the balance, right? God calls us to, I know we not only much on this podcast, we talk about DID, right? Much we talk on that. And well, maybe not two actual personalities, especially when you speak in the psychology realm, right? But the idea of where you create two serious realities, y'all, yeah, that's real. We are really, escapism is probably another one of them that can be put there, which we will reference from time to time on the podcast, because I think that's what people are doing. Let's just do this real quick here before we get into those Bible verses here. So let's look at the definition of escapism first, and then escape, right? Because again, this is where we're getting two different ideas. So escapism, the tendency, again coming from Oxford's dictionary, right? The tendency, all knowledge ain't coming from England, y'all. Can we be honest for a minute? You need to pay attention to the rest of the planet around you, because they're playing a cold game on you, saying all the knowledge ain't coming from England. Have y'all ever thought to pay attention to, and we're starting to see more of that come out lately, right? Like, for instance, let me just pull this up, because this was an impactful one that I learned here just a couple days ago. About an enemy and a friend. My God, man. African proverbs, right? It's another place where you can find some knowledge. We use a few. Especially you grow up in a black family, you use a whole lot of them. Normally they'll be considered, southern ones. But again, it's coming from a certain place of time past. Knowledge being passed down, y'all. That's how it works, right? Why you gotta buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? Don't put your belly in another man's hands. Right? When you get your head stuck in the lion's mouth, you got to wiggle it out. You just don't rip that thing out of there, y'all. You got to slowly, you take steps every day. Don't y'all give up out there because you got yourself in a snare, y'all. Right? Come on, family. Somebody get this in the inside of you. Don't let it take you down because you made mistakes. Take daily, if not hourly, right? Depending on how bad the situation is. This is for anybody. This is for any scenario, right? Them lions is tough out there, man, huh? We don't do this escapism mess around here, right? We don't do this tendency to seek distraction and relief from unpleasant realities around here. We don't. Oh, excuse me, y'all, for the laughing, man. But again, sometimes you got to laugh through this stuff to keep from crying, to keep from yelling, to keep from. This is a thing, right? The tendency to seek it. People are looking for a distraction. Stop being distracted by this mess. This is why you haven't heard me on the podcast lately. Oh, KJ, man, come on, get into that thing with Breonna Taylor. Why am I going to get into that thing really with Breonna Taylor? It's the same thing with the Kendrick Lamar thing. You know, and again, I think Kendrick mopped the floor with Drake. But that don't matter either way because the person who won some knowledge got out there. Kendrick put some knowledge down about life, about history, because again, people are, and it ties over into this thing with our dear sister Kamala Harris. Now, listen, I know y'all want to get on the government official part of it. Again, I don't use this word politician because it's a distraction. Anybody can talk about city and state issues, y'all. That's what politic means. Ain't no politician. I could be a politician. When I talk about make sure you know your city's budget or your town's budget, I'm politicking. That's what the word. See, again, y'all, we getting caught on the okie doke. We getting caught off on the distractions, y'all. Stop seeking escapism. This world is real. The situations you see with another nation trying to invade another one and secrecy behind the scenes, you know, that word conspiracy y'all get stuck off in. Again, it ain't as secret as what you think it is. They hurting you right out in the open. Right? They feeding you food that's killing you right out in the open. Look how many McDonald's there are, y'all. Do you see people working in healthy food restaurants? No, you see them working in fast food restaurants. Again, escapism will then tell you, no, KJC, again, escapism, I plug the definition when I use the word. The tendency to seek distraction would then tell you, no, KJC, this is what's going on with this, that, and the other. Or we're creating so many jobs for these people. Around what? Making fake food to kill me? You got to be okay with not being okay, y'all. This is why you hear me repeat it. Escapism is the tendency to go seeking to find distractions. In the Christian church, shout out to our Christian family one time, right? And again, as a Christian person, many times you will see and again, people like to use that word attack, where my discussions is with where I'm at, y'all. Again, your discussion should be where y'all are at. Sometimes I will tie in Buddhist thought, like enlightenment or manifestation, where the Christian brother and sister thinks that's wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know how many times the word manifest comes up in the Bible? Being enlightened or illuminated in your inner parts. Do you know how many times that comes up in the Bible? Wait, maybe a Buddhist monk was writing those chapters. Listen, y'all, you gotta let go some of this stuff, man. Listen, so when I'm watching the TV show Acolyte, right, which unfortunately they canceled the second season, so be it. Again, Star Wars, like DC, gets a little too real for folks. See, they can play around with Marvel, right? Let's just have this conversation for a second. There's no real title to this, by the way. And also, welcome in us, as I'm already a few minutes in here. Welcome us, the 600 plus strong who view, right? We're talking about the views, who view this or listen to, right, this podcast called A Different View. Family, welcome in. Right? Again, we don't have a topic today. Maybe you want to call it escapism. Maybe we'll call it escapism, right? Guys, you got to realize DC and Star Wars is a little too real for people. So what do they go to? Marvel. Because in the Marvel comic, especially in today's society, now y'all listen to me. See, our transgender and homosexual family, y'all listen to me real good. Because this time, see, again, when you're escaping, you won't talk to these people. But when you write down where they are, you know, like Christ was. See, much what you got as far as when it comes to Christianity, you got people who are Christians and you got those who are churchians, if I might be so bold. Hey, right? You got people who are okay staying stuck to rules. And this is a thought that's brought out in the Bible. You're stuck in the rules, so much so that you'll actually defend them. And then you got those who are not, right? It's just what it is. And the back and forth that, again, Peter and Paul dealt with this in Acts because Peter was too high and mighty to eat food with the Gentiles. It's got to be the Jewish gang or there ain't no gang, right? Ain't no party like a Jew gang party because a Jew... Anyway, right? Just to rob from that song, right? About a party and a house party and all that kind of thing. If the Jews ain't involved, ain't nobody else involved. But wait, the Bible talks about how the wedding is now open to the whole group. So what do you do with that information? Do we just put it away? See, it's the same thing with sex. It is the same thing with sex. It's got to be done this way at this hour, in this position, so on and so forth, right? That's not how the game goes, y'all. And this idea to kind of, again, escape away into, oh, well, you know, some of these things, KJ, this is sex ritualism, man. You know, this, they was doing some... Guys, it's a sacred, holy, fun, pleasurable act. You can build a ritual around anything you want. I could build a ritual around eating pizza. Come on now. Are we really going there in the mind? Yeah, okay, so because you found on some island or landmass somewhere where groups of people were using, I don't know, how do I do this without being too, whatever sexual act you want to use, right? Because again, we got certain of them that we got on the top of the list that are just wrong. Just because you see this happening in some sexual ritual somewhere, did y'all really go to the... Now listen, let me be clear here, right? For the class who's going to get in their feelings, I am not attacking. But what I'm doing is bringing out what? A different view. Because you see people on some island somewhere doing something you ain't never done before, don't make what is them doing it wrong. It means you ain't never done it before. If they so happen to be doing it in a ritual, does not mean that that is wrong. It means the way they used it is the way they were using it. How you gonna use it? See, we don't talk about that part of it. How you gonna use it? Because it's been there the whole time. It's just that group of people you see and using it in a ritual are using it in a ritual. This is how we get on. This is how we get on our Wiccan brothers and sisters. Because we have shut off that which is spiritual, yet in the Bible you are told that those who are spiritual to restore folks in the spirit of meekness. Yet we walk right past the truth of that, which is you got to know something about spiritual. And many times we keep making fun of our Buddhist brothers and sisters by making fun of manifestation, by making fun of enlightenment, and you're not paying attention. You following in the Sanhedrin. Huh? Come on, somebody. Y'all following in Pontius Pilate type thought process. I know it wasn't Jewish, but we're talking government officials, right? When do we stop doing that? When do we stand up in that which made and created this planet? It ain't governed by no human? Never mind. Never mind. Now, again, still merciful and gracious to folks. And I know people who, again, we get it, right? So you got to blame somebody when something goes wrong in your life, right? I got some friends and family that I've seen all my social medias that they have lost family members. Shout out to y'all, number one. Stalwarts in the faith, right? There's something to be said about that. Condolences to the family, right? So on and so forth. That would be for anybody, by the way, right? However, we got to realize that everything we learned is not full incompletion of thought, because you are not known as you will be known. So with that, this idea, let's just get into it here, y'all, right? Just getting into these verses here. Let me just see. Comfort one another with these words. This is in 1 Thessalonians 4:18. This is where you get this idea that you'll see me constantly on Facebook putting this in, because in other translations of the King James Version of the Bible, it will tell you to encourage each other in these things, right? Comfort one another with these words. Now, this whole thing is talking about the rapture, especially towards the end of the verse. It's talking about the rapture and Christ coming back and all this kind of, this same Jesus. Mind you, by the way, if it's telling you this same Jesus, y'all need to look at the one who was turning over money tables, telling the Sanhedrin where to go, right? Doing it respectfully and in love, but still doing it. That same Jesus is coming back. We're talking about if you believe it, because that's what the verses are saying, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, right? Which could be. So, encourage each other in these things about brotherly love and doing things correctly. Not doing nothing. Do it correctly. We brought out that thought process a long time ago. At the beginning of this podcast, is what are the things, y'all? Is there anything? Is there anything we can do? I know you got a lot of don'ts, but where the do's at, right? So here we go. 1 Corinthians 13. Though I speak as we sit here 16 minutes. So this is where we're going to go, and then we'll end off here, right? Though I speak with the tongue of men and angels, or humans, various languages of humans or of not of this world, right? So this is for our prophets out there, right? You're talking about that, thus saith the Lord, okay? So whether you're doing that or you're talking in other languages, again, this is also speaking to this idea of speaking in other tongues and all that, right? They done made a bunch of jokes with it and all that kind of thing. So whether or not you do that, but you don't have charity, we have already broken down the word charity means love in action. It means doing something, right? Charity is, matter of fact, I still got it here pulled up on my computer. When you get past the silliness of the organization set up to provide help, still in that is this real thought, right? Which is the second definition when you look up charity from Oxford's dictionary, the voluntary giving of help. Now, they say typically in the form of money. Again, break all that down to the voluntary giving of help. We are failing as a society and as humans because we won't willingly see the Good Samaritan story is not happening enough, y'all. We're okay letting people bleed and die on the street. We escape and use excuses, but this is what we're doing, and it affects us all. Right? That's charity. So if you don't have that, you're like a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. That's verse 1. So you sound like you at an army game, you at a football game, right? You got the band comes out and they playing and they they hitting that cymbal back and forth. That's what it sounds like. No real beat or anything. Just think of that noise over and over and how tired you would get of it. That's what that verse is coming out with, right? Or the tinkling cymbal. You get, like when you're playing the drums, you get like one of those good hair band rock bands, right? White Snake. Even you could throw in like your Guns N' Roses, the Rolling Stones, any one of these, right? And you got that sound there, that tinkling cymbal. It's not the full, but it's just a little noise, right? That's what, just repeat that in your mind over and over again. That's what, for a long time. That's what it sounds like. You doing all the spectacular stuff, but you've got no voluntary wanting to help. That's, hey, just call it what it is, right? Verse 2. And though, doubling down on the thought here. The gift of prophecy, understanding mysteries. So like your Batman, you can discover it. You're the greatest detective, right? All knowledge, though I have all faith, so you can believe whatever, right? That you could so much so that you could remove mountains, but you do not have this voluntary. Let's put in charity here. Yeah, the voluntary giving of help, but you ain't doing that part of it, right? You're nothing. That's what the verse. I'm reading the verses, y'all. We reading the verses with the definitions here, man. Right? We got to get the love back into things, y'all. Right? We can't sit there as men in a relationship and not show our wives, right, and our partners. Talking as far as because again, they are still your partner, and also partners as in the homosexual, transgender community, etc. Right? The partner that you have in your life. If you think you're over them, this isn't going to work. You're on a team. Again, look through life. Why are you saying that, KJ, that it won't work? Look through life. Divorce court is full of, right? Single parent homes are full of, right? All the different dysfunctions you see. The reason you see infidelity or adultery, since again, Christians like going there a lot, so we're going to throw those words in there. You see all that because people are not a team. There's ownership involved. See, the man has been taught by the Bible improperly that you're supposed to have your woman as a sex mule. See, don't stay away from each other too long, lest there be some cause or occasion for sin. That's what you're told. So now, so somehow now we took the truth of that, right? And instead of mutually agreeing to have sex with each other, the man then started being like, "Hey, woman, you gonna have sex with me now?" That won't work. Because see, again, right, while we blame God for the fact that we have free will and all this kinds of stuff, that we do horrible things to each other, see, here's another one of those things where you can't blame God for this. You got to blame the person that's doing the wrong with what they've been given, which is in this case forcing the woman to have sex with you. And of course, could that happen vice versa? Of course. But that's not the case, because in this instance, we're talking about from a biblical standpoint that the man is, see, they didn't recognize women like that because it was a male-dominated society. This is the part Christians don't want to talk about. But when you look at the truth of life here, you got to realize you got to include the woman in there, huh? That this don't work with, never mind. Though I bestow, verse 3, though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, though I give my body to be burned, but you're not doing it voluntarily. This is why the Bible goes back and again, have not charity. What is charity again? Let's just remind yourself, right? The voluntary giving of help. Okay. So you can do all this stuff. And we know some people like that, yo. Hey, I went here. What'd you do this weekend? Oh, well, I went bungee jumping for the disabled. Or I ran the 5K for this, that, and the other. So you can put on a good show. But there's no driving force behind that, y'all. We all got to check ourselves with that. If that ain't there, what are we doing, y'all? We get into this when we're talking about recognizing the different cultures on the planet. See, you got to have enough voluntary want for help to start helping the other people on the planet, just as the same peoples of the planet need to help themselves, right? This is love in action. That's why I break it down as saying love in action. See, the voluntary need to help. Not voluntary need. The voluntary giving of help. If that is not there, y'all, what are we doing? We can give money to Ukraine. We can give money to Israel. We can give money to Haiti after an earthquake. We give a lot of money, man. But you won't do it to the poor and impoverished right in your own country. That's nothing, yo. This is what the Bible is telling you, not me. Take that up with the maker. We're not going to sit here and interpret this thing for what it's not, yo. Okay? That's not how the game goes. It's not how the game goes. All right. So, verse 4, charity suffers long. Man, this chapter powerful, man. You talk about a measuring stick. This chapter is charity, the voluntary giving of help, it suffers or allows for it to be a long process. It's kind. Charity does not envy. Charity does vaunteth. What does the word vaunted, KJ? You know, these English folks, man, they be using these words, man. You got to break this thing down for us. I don't understand. A vaunted is a word that, again, we're talking about stuff you find right on your computer. We don't do that thing like you can't find this info. It's right there. You just got to go look it. To boast or brag, make a vain display of one's worth, accomplishments, or decorations. Again, we have read a verse that's back in the Gospels that talks about how the Sanhedrin would sit there. And the Sanhedrin is the conglomeration of your Pharisees, Sadducees, the holy folks of the time, right? That would be like, you know, talking about the Catholic Church. Put any denomination in that Sanhedrin. That's what you got, y'all. Those who are the law keepers, then telling the people about the law, right? How they would make prayers for long pretense and doing things that made the converts thereof twice the child of hell. This is what Jesus told them. This is where this idea of vaunteth comes from. That's where it comes from. Charity does not vaunteth itself. It's not puffed up. When you see people in control of their emotions, y'all, they're operating in charity. They're operating in the voluntary giving of help. You're seeing people who are mature spiritually. We just got to call what it is. Yo. We got to call what it is. And that don't make them nothing special. And they'll be the first ones to tell you that. Because again, by the grace of God, there go I. You got to start training your senses to see the real people in your life, y'all. So, all of us, right? Verse 5. It doesn't behave unseemingly. And this will be good for Christian folks. Here you go. Hit it. Yeah, see, KJ, come on, talk about that. People operating unseemingly today, man. Oh, you see what these women dress like, and these kids, they operating all over the place. And yeah, we know. we know where y'all go with it, man. Listen, while that is a real thing, all you're doing is just sitting there and timing in on the wrong of a person. Can you talk about anything right they're doing? And most of the time when folks are like that, they're not talking about anything right that they're doing. We get on Peter for failing to walk on the water, yet you don't point out the fact that Peter walked on the water. Nothing? Nothing? We got nothing for that? Doubting Thomas. We talk about the fact that Thomas doubted on the fact that Jesus was alive and well and walking around after he was dead, right? But nobody talks about the fact that Thomas wanted to make sure. You give me proof. I'm not just listening to, because the previous verses talk about, hey, man, Jesus is alive. Come on down. No. Just because y'all jump off the Brooklyn Bridge don't mean I'm doing it. I want to see it. Do you know what happened after those verses? Jesus came and showed himself. See, we are missing the love aspect, right? We're not puffed up. We don't behave unseemingly. We don't seek our own. We're not easily provoked. We don't think about evil. That don't mean evil thoughts don't come. That means you don't dwell there in it. So I'm not trying to look to take over other nations. I'm not trying to discredit whether somebody is black or not. Again, when you're talking about protection for people, that's one thing, but I'm not trying to see who is male or female or not. I know that's a tough one for folks to get to. I know. That's why I said, if you're talking about protections for each other, that's one thing. But denial of operating in the game because one is or is not male or female, yeah, I'm not. Disproportion is not something you find in charity because it's the voluntary wanting to give help. Rejoices not in iniquity. We've already gone over the fact that iniquity means weakness. Again, I know a lot of people like to point to the wickedness part of it. When you go further into the definition of the word, it deals with things that are twisted. Also, that twisted deals with the same thing in the word weak, which is bent. It's weak, right? Weakness. But rejoices in the truth. Bears all things. Bear is big, man. People don't bear enough no more. You know, people going through problems on you bothering me. Are we bothering each other now at this point, y'all? How does that work? No wonder folks can't get no help because again, we're not bearing nothing. Now look at the word bear. I'm not gonna do it for time's sake because we're trying to wrap up here. Believes all things. Now that don't mean this idea where, oh, what? Did you say the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was in New York City? We not, and this is normally where people go with silly excuses and things like that when the real comes to them. Oh, what you mean? All people are black, KJ? This is the silly stuff people do. No, but when we say believe all things, you take it at its face value, y'all. Okay, hey, this is what this person believes. This is what this person believes, y'all. You're trying to help folks. We're not discrediting people. We listening to what you're saying. Hopes all things. That one's big, man. Don't you let go of hope in your life. Don't you let go of that idea of, as the phrase goes, hope springing eternal, man. Don't you let go of that. Life has a way, that which is very adversarial in nature, has a way of seeking and devouring hope. But the balance in life is that hope hopeth all things, man. That's so real. That is so enduring all things. Do y'all have good endurance? Do we, ladies and gentlemen, family, do we have good endurance? You got to do this thing, man. See, everybody be in the gym about lifting heavy weights and can you run the 5K though? I know the muscle thing is what everybody likes to see. But do you got anything underneath what everybody sees? My Lord, help somebody, help. Come on, right? Endure things, right? Charity never fails. Interesting thought. But whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, this is going back over what's already talked about in the chapter. They shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. But the voluntary giving of help, yay, that never fails, man. For we know in part and we prophesy in part. This is what I'm talking about, guys, when we talk about this idea of folks knowing everything. You don't know everything. I don't, no one does. We don't know it all. But I bet you when you got given help on the mind, man, you going to find out as much as you can so that you can give help properly, right? Because it ain't about you, it's about somebody else. That then in turn actually helps you on the back end. This is why I say when you look at the word selfish, if you truly selfish, you will help other people because you don't want something affecting you. And people's misfortune, hurts another. That's how this works, right? We know in part, we prophesy in part, that's verse 9, verse 10. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away with, right? Perfect deals with wholeness, total completion, nothing lacking, nothing wanting, that kind of idea, right? When that comes, you're not in part no more, right? That process happens when you die, y'all. You then become complete. You then finish this race. You're good. I did the planet Earth thing, right? You did this version of it, and then you on to the next step. You know, as it said in Lord of the Rings, one step of your journey is over and another begins. That's real, right? To those who don't believe that, again, so be it. We just passing along the info, right? When I was a child, I spoke like a child, I understood like a child, and I thought as a child. But now they put man in there again. You talking about kids, but then you put in man. Telling you about this male thing, right? Yeah. When I became an adult is what it should say, right? Because this is the opposite of child to man, adult. So this works for the woman just the same as the man, y'all. We got immature both. Because you haven't grown up in the mind. You still stuck on what they told you at 5 years old. You have not grown up in your mind. No, be careful over there, Daddy. That black man might steal my wallet. Really? This is what you're teaching your kids? Lord, God bless the youth, man, because at least they coming away from this mess. Talking about the various generations as we sit here at about 33 minutes. We'll get two more minutes here and we'll wrap up here. Talking about the various generations, man. You go all the way back. Just study generations. Just pull up the different terms of generations. They got a whole list of it online, right? Whether you're talking the silent generation, baby boomers, Generation X, Z, Y. I don't care what letter number or whatever they're using, right? That's just silly. Again, all these characterizations are just silly ways of taking from you. Okay, you got to understand, guys, where the previous generation was learning stuff from, and especially the historical context in which it was. When there's war going on, y'all, you teach people in a warlike mentality. You're not teaching nobody nothing real. You're teaching them how to survive in war. When do we stop? Do you teach anybody how to live in peace? We've been warring so long, following after massa, because that's the type of life they live. That at the end of the day, well, that's the type of life that massa lives. That at the end of the day, you don't know what it's like to live in peace. So now you teach your kids how to fight or how to live in a warlike environment. At the very least, you should learn a little bit more to be able to teach them the other side. And that's a task to us all, ain't it? When I became a man, I put away childish things. That's the way I'm at in my mind, y'all. I'm not dealing anymore in this fantasy type of everybody's wrong. There's very little right to do. Come on, God ain't making a planet like that, y'all. Humans do that. Humans do that mess. For now we see through a glass darkly. But then when face to face, or it says in the verse actually, then face to face, but then when face to, because it's an event. So when face to face, now I know, but then you see face to face. So in the beginning, it's little bit. You only see a little bit. As you grow in knowledge, now you're right face to face, like you looking at you in the mirror, right? That's why it's saying through a glass. Now I know in part, but then I shall know even as I am also known. That's a very awesome thought, yo. And then finally, now abideth faith, hope, and charity, or again, as we have discussed on this podcast, faith or belief, hope, which we'll just do this real quick. I'm not going to do a deep dive because we're at the end here and I'm on my closing. So, hope, the feeling or expectation and desire of a certain thing to happen. You know, for folks who don't like manifestation. Yeah. Said hope, yeah. Say one time hope, yeah. Right? A feeling. This is an old school word for hope. Old school definition, excuse me, for hope. A feeling of trust. Wanting something to happen. You know who people who want to have children, want to not be single anymore, want to own a home, want to have a good job, want to accept you as a person and that which one you can work on and provide for you and your family. Hope. Come on now, somebody, man. See, these are things that are missing in society. As we take the time here to just end, man, I got to say it, right? Now abideth belief, the ability to trust, right? Use the old school definition. Trusting is something you want will happen to you. And the voluntary giving of help. Those are the three things that abide. They live in this reality. Of course, there's the opposites of those. You can just look at the antithesis. I'm not going to do that right now. Just look at the different words that are the opposite of those things. These three abide. The greatest of them is charity. Right? So that's what I got for y'all today, ladies and gentlemen, right? Thank you for walking this road with me, this Corinthians 13 road with me, y'all. I hope you liked this episode, right? Again, we will probably name this episode Escapism. Because it's a powerful thing to understand, y'all. We got to stop running And we got to start running away from, I should say, and run to. As Beyonce said on the song Freedom, I keep on running because a winner don't quit on themselves, right? We running a race here, y'all. It's time to hit that finish line strong. So I hope y'all have a powerful and awesome, impactful, and peaceful Thursday today, y'all. And as always, and until next time, look to find the beauty in a different view.